Hi folks, this is Darren with My RV Works. We sure do get an awful lot of comments on the videos that we put out for the slide rooms. And so Tricia has been reviewing a lot of those, and she's kind of put me in the hot seat. She's got them in a little fishbowl. She's going to be pulling them out and asking me questions on your behalf. So let's see what questions she's got for us.
Yeah, so I was checking the comments recently from our slide room videos and noticed that some of the same questions were coming up. So we thought we would just compile them all together and you could answer them all here.
I'm sweating. I hope I can help. Okay. All right.
We don't have any demonstrations, but hopefully we can talk you through, and if we need to, we'll bring in the grease board.
Yes, we could do the grease board thing. Okay, cool.
Okay.
Let's jump in with the question.
Okay, so pretty much all of these questions center around slide lubrication. So that's something you kind of have been driving home in our recent videos. And so a lot of people have had questions about that. And our first one is, how often should I lubricate my system? Every 6 months, every 2 months, only when it needs to be done? How often?
I get that question a lot in the field. It really is a function of how often your room's going in and out.
Okay.
So if you're like set up and you're going to be there, like when we would set up, we'd be there for 6 months. So there's no point in lubricating it if I'm not going to use it.
Gotcha.
Okay. If you're using it all the time, then more frequently. My rule of thumb that I share with people is when you're using that RV, you can tell, it's like tuning an instrument. You can tell it, the sounds that it makes when it's coming in and going out, the speed that it's going in and out on. And as soon as you detect it sounding different than it did when it was perfectly lubed, that's when you hit it with the lubrication. That's the best way I can answer that. So it's not like every 6 months, because if it was me, then my slide room's only going to have gone in once or twice. But if you're traveling a lot, then it's going to go in every day maybe.
Okay.
So the other way is, if you've been in an RV for any length of period of time and you're RVing in it, when you flush the toilet, you kind of know what it sounds like when it flushes to determine the levelness of the tank.
Okay.
I've been full-timing for 15 years, so I know what the full tank sound feels like, and you know what I'm talking about if you're doing this. You don't even need to look at your sensors. You just know, that sounds like a little bit close. And so these are the sounds that your RV makes, that your RV is like an instrument, and there's sounds that it makes, and you get comfortable with those sounds, and you know what healthy sounds, your furnace makes a certain sound, all these sounds. So your slide room, so my go-to best practice that I would offer folks is when it starts to sound different, or when you notice it's dragging a little bit, when you're bringing your room in and out, you're watching it, you're listening for all these things. And these Schwintecs do make a unique sound when they come in, that high-pitched motor whining sound. And you might hear a click-clack sound. I'm not worried about the click-clack sounds, because those come from two different sources. One is if you have a slide topper, there's a spring inside the slide topper that sometimes makes a spring sound. I'm not worried about that. And the other thing is, usually on the bottom of the slide room, the side slide rooms, the wiper seals are soft, and a lot of times we recommend just getting some baby powder on those, keeping them rubbery and soft. But on the bottom, they usually have a harder plastic, and sometimes that harder plastic will make a flip-flop sound when it's going in or out. So as long as it doesn't continue, but when you're bringing it in and all of a sudden you hear a flip sound or a pop sound, that's probably the spring, or it could be the wiper seal on the bottom making that flip sound. Not worried about that. What we're not wanting is any kind of that kind of a sound. Did I do that right?
I think that was right.
It's kind of dialed in?
Yeah.
Okay, because I've got a calibrated, I know that sound. So that would be my go-to. How often do you lubricate it? Your RV is an instrument. You're playing an instrument. I played a violin for a while. My son likes the piano. And you know when that C and that E it's not there, and you get your little, what do we use, a thing, it starts with a V. Thing you click on my violin, I would clip it on the thing and I'd run it, and I would just, a snark, I think is what it was called. And you could play your violin, and you would look, and it's like, and you just knew, okay, so no, I'm not going to break out my violin and play for you guys. You got to go camping for my violin. Do you know I played the violin?
I did not, and I'm kind of surprised by that.
I love the violin.
That's like a fun fact.
Fun fact, Darren, I've got like 3 violins.
I did not know that. Okay.
I haven't played it in a long, long time, but yeah, and I'm getting all blushy and embarrassed. But
Okay, so you're talking about getting used to your RV, getting used to the sounds, kind of knowing when it needs that tune-up. But if you've just bought an RV, let's say it's brand new out of the factory. Would you recommend lubing it right then?
Yes.
Or, okay. And then let's say you buy a used RV. Would you recommend lubing it right then? Okay. So right when you get it, properly lubricate.
When you take possession of this RV, you have no idea what its past was. And so we'll stick with the musical thing. I would tune it. I would make sure that when I take possession of this RV, whether I just picked it up from the dealership or I just picked it up from buying it used or I took it out of storage, and it's been in storage for a while. Let's start off with lubrication on the Schwintex. We're talking about Schwintex because there are some slide rooms that I would say typically you would not want to lubricate. And these are the Power Gear ones. Used to be Power Gear. They're the rams that come out underneath and they've got the tooth bar welded to the bottom. Those slide rooms are usually with drop floors or flush floors. The Schwintex will always be an in and out. You would never have a Schwintex that has a drop floor. It's not possible to make a flush floor. You know what I'm talking about?
I have no idea.
The room comes out and then it goes down and then the slide out portion is level with the room.
Gotcha.
So they call them a drop floor or a flush floor.
Okay.
So Schwintex, the way they're made, they're either in or out.
Okay.
Okay. But we'll stick with Schwintex here. Yes, I would. We don't, and even still, the green can, it's CRC Power Lube with PTFE. Mm-hmm. And I had to look up what PTFE was. That's Teflon.
Okay.
I did not know that. So if it's really hot, you can fry an egg on it and it won't stick. That's, but I could put it. I use rosin on my bow. I guess I could use Teflon. What would that sound like? That'd be weird. Anyway, yes, I would use that product and the green can that I've demonstrated. That's the only product that I would ever use on these systems. I would not mix and match products. Keep it pure. Keep it this simple. And see, back in the day, Lippert. How did Darren find out about the green can? Because Lippert said that's the product that they recommended years ago, and so I started using that, and it fixed so many problems. So Lippert used to be a huge fan of using that product. That's where I got that product from. That's how I even learned it existed. And now I understand from reading comments and from talking to folks that Lippert's saying don't lubricate them. And so I don't know why they would say that, but yes, please lubricate your Schwintex slide rooms the day you get it, and then when you just hear it doesn't sound quite right.
Okay.
You can't over lubricate them, I guess is my point.
Oh, that was another question. So
was it?
I guess.
Oh, I jumped in track. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Question 2.
Question 2.
Okay, so the next question we got is, should you clean the tracks before you lubricate them? And if so, how should you clean them?
Okay, should you clean the tracks? Yes and no. It's a weird. Okay, what are the condition of the tracks? There's a product. I've seen it. I've seen a lot of people use it. I do not have it, but I've seen it, and it's usually in a white can with blue lettering, unless they've changed it recently, and it says RV Slide Room Lubricant, and what comes out of that is like a white foamy stuff. Okay, not a fan of that at all. If you have that, please throw it away. I don't know the manufacturer, but what I've found is it might work great for that first week or two. Typically, we have come into those jobs where people have, for good reason, they're not bad people, and maybe it's not a bad product, but what I found with that white foamy product, and you know if you've got it, you're going to see the white residue, foam splatter residue after you got to wipe it off. Go touch it. It's sticky, okay? And that stickiness is killing you. And so if you've been lubricating your slide room with this product that comes out as a white foamy, I don't know if it's lithium, I don't know what it is. I don't know. I really don't care. But I hate it because we've done jobs where that's what they've been lubricating their slide room with. And you touch it with your finger and it's sticky. And if you're using a lubricant and you can go touch it with your finger and it's sticky, get it off. Just totally get that out. Don't ever use that product or any product that makes it sticky. And I've seen it time and time and time again. So those motors have to overcome bringing this whole slide room in and out. And then, let's see, they have to overcome stickiness of the lubricant. And we have seen RV dealerships and shops replace entire motors. We've got, this goes back years. I don't know if we did a video of it. But anyway, what to clean them with. I think we were the third or fourth shop that this customer brought their RV to because they kept replacing motors,
Oh.
and there was never anything wrong with the motor. The motors were burning up or faulting out.
There was a stickiness?
Because of stickiness on the tracks.
Wow. Okay.
And we degreased it, put it in there, but it was so bad that he had to put these are the old Power Gear types. So we just replaced the entire, the stickiness was so embedded in all these parts, we never could get it out. We just replaced the whole thing, and he's still rolling with his RV to this day.
Wow. Okay, so if it's sticky,
there's a degreaser.
Clean it, and with the degreaser.
Yeah, there's different degreasers. A Simple Green.
Okay.
Simple Green is one that I would use. Now, if you're around any aluminum parts, Simple Green Extreme. It's either Simple Green Extreme or Extreme Simple Green. It's basically Simple Green, but the Simple Green logo, I go by logos. I'm visual. I see things. Simple Green's got the white jug. I use it by the gallon. White jug with the green wrapper on it. The Extreme Simple Green is aluminum grade, aircraft grade is what we use, and it's more of a white sticker with blue lettering on it. It doesn't hurt aluminum. And so if I'm going to be working on a customer's RV, Simple Green's awesome, but it could etch some of the aluminum. And I've seen where Simple Green, you've got these big, nice coaches with aluminum rims, and some Simple Green dripped on it. It stayed there, and now all of a sudden you're buying a new alloy rim for the customer because your Simple Green product dripped on it. I'm going to say Simple Green Extreme. It might be, the word extreme is either before or after, I don't remember.
Okay.
But it's rated for aluminum. And we have both kinds, but on the Schwintek system, I would use the Extreme because that is an aluminum rail.
Okay.
And so I would put that Extreme in there and then run the slide room a couple times to let that Extreme get in there really well. And then just some soap and water to get that off.
Okay.
Okay. And so now you've got it back to the base metals.
Okay.
And then hit it with the Teflon and then run it in and out a couple times, and it'll wet all the components that it needs to.
Okay. Now, are you concerned if it's dirty? Is that something you need to clean, or just if it's sticky?
Not really dirty. Now, Lippert has made several different design modifications that are not reverse compatible. Love you, Lippert, but you're killing us. And what I'm talking about is you have your rack that has all those little grooves in it. They just take a little router and they route all these things. It looks pretty cool. And then you have how am I going to do this? You have your bearing block that rides on that. Here's the rack. Imagine there's all these slots in it. I could make a tattoo of a Schwintek thing, and then I could say, well, here's the rack, and here's
the Schwintek guy.
I am here. It's right here. Yes. Okay. So here's the rack with all the little slots in it, and then the bearing track runs in it. And there's a wheel on the bottom, and then there's I call it a fin. It's just my word. It's a fin that sticks out of the thing and goes into this track that's above all the slots. Okay? Now the track that's above the slots, it either has the fin that goes in this track, the fin comes out and it either has the tail is up or the tail is down. Like I said, they're not reverse compatible. The one where the tail goes down, that has a tendency to collect pine needles and dirt more than the ones that go up. And maybe that was one of the reasons why they changed their design.
Okay.
So that's why I'm saying you have no control over which one you get.
Can you tell which one you get?
If you look closely, if you look closely, you can look closely at the rack and you can look in there and see if the void that the fin rolls in either goes down or up.
Okay.
Okay. You have no control over what they have at the time. Mm-hmm. But you do need to be aware because they've changed the bearing block diameter. Some are skinny, some are wide. They've changed the gib part on these things. You've seen my videos where I talk about this. It used to be a hard piece of steel that the bearing block rides in, and then they've changed them from steel to like a hard plastic, and the diameters of those has changed. So you might have a bearing block that's the right width, but the slot that slides in the gib is different by 1 millimeter. Are you kidding me? Those won't fit, okay? You got the fin is either goes out and faces up or goes out and faces down. Then they have fins with slots all the way in them, slots only in the top, no slots. All the different little plastic shoes. There's just too many redesigns that they've done to this, and it makes it very difficult to stock parts.
Yeah.
But what was the original question? Cleaning?
Yeah, so you said if there's fin...
The fin going down.
Down? collects
that
a lot
has
more pine needles.
I've seen a lot of pine needles getting in there,
Okay.
and those will break your shoes. And so you'll get a lot of debris in there, and the room's coming in or going out.
Okay.
Usually it's the room going in, and this is what's causing the shoes to break. And that little plastic shoe that snaps onto the fin. I'm calling it the fin. So we've seen where debris and everything, little grit and stuff will fall in the track that goes down, and the room is being brought in, and the shoe is wiping inside the track, and the pine needles will give a little bit, but then all of a sudden it won't close all the way, and that's because the debris in here.
Okay.
And that stress could break the shoe.
Okay. So how do you clean it?
I get a can of office air. I carry office air with me, and I'll just kind of maybe wet it a little bit. And these are the things you clean your keyboards with, and just kind of blast it. Compressed air if you have a compressor. But I carry the office cans of air and just kind of clean the track.
Okay.
And then I don't like silicone sprays at all. I don't even stock them. Lippert's their leveling system spec is silicone. You spray silicone on the cylinders and you wipe it off. But silicone, I found, has a tendency to collect dirt and dust.
Okay.
And so now you have a film of dirt or dust. That's why they want you to wipe it off. But that's why we like the Teflon better. I haven't seen dirt or dust collect to Teflon at all.
Okay.
And you can even fry an egg on it.
All right.
But it won't sear steaks. That's cast iron. Okay.
Okay, so now we know how often,
Yes.
and we know how to clean.
Yes.
And under what circumstances.
Degrease. So degreaser, soap and water. What is it? Gunk. Gunk. It's like an engine degreaser. I've used that before too on really, really stubborn ones. And they make a foaming one that's nice. Simple Green even makes an aerosol foaming kind. But I haven't found the foaming one works as good as the product itself. So I'll make a little mix of Simple Green, pour it in a little squirt bottle, and then spray it on there, let it sit for a few minutes, and then hit it with some soap and water, and it rinses off perfectly. It's easy.
Okay, all right, great.
And then a can of office air to just clean out the track.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move on to question 3.
Okay, very good.
Okay, and then the next question we got is it possible to spray too much lubricant? And if so, how would you just wipe off the excess?
That's
Yeah.
it. I mean, could you spray too much? I'm pretty generous with this green can. I get it all up in there, and then I'll run the room in and out several times just to make sure it gets in all those spots. On the Schwintek, you could get to the outer gibs pretty easily. The inner gibs, a little bit more hard. You could take that little straw that comes with it and kind of put a dog leg in it and get it in there. A lot of times you could figure out where the ceramic wheel is, and I spray basically on top of the ceramic wheel, and then it wicks its way in. And if there's too much dripping down, the way the Schwinteks are, it's going to drain right out just like the water would. So it's not like going to puddle somewhere and get you in trouble.
Okay.
There's absolutely no benefit at all in lubricating the part of the rack that has the splines in it, because that's a brass gear. So you can leave that part dry. It's the long skinny track above the little slots that you want to lubricate, but not the part below it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. And maybe Lippert's saying there's, because a lot of people, I'll see them spray the teeth of the rack, and there's no benefit in spraying the teeth of the rack. What you really need to lubricate is the slot above the. I'm getting my terminology mixed up, but
Okay.
should I use the grease board, or I think does this make sense?
I think so.
I think it makes sense, yeah. Because when you're looking at your rack, you see a little teeth that the gear crawls in, and right above that is a long track. That's what you want to lubricate. That's the important part, because a plastic shoe is riding in that, and that's a plastic shoe on an aluminum profile, and then they get hard. The shoe doesn't get hard, but I mean it's like rub your hands together,
Mm-hmm.
And but if it was lubricated, then it's going to slide a lot easier. And we just did that little 3-minute video where we actually had to take hydraulic rams and push the whole H column out, and all because it wasn't lubricated.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can't. I would say within reason, use moderation. Don't be an idiot and just use a whole can on one rack. But yeah, just spray it in there. and then run it in and out. And if it's still dripping out, just wipe it down.
Okay.
So,
great.
You know.
And then we had a related question, which was, and I think I know the answer based on what you've already said.
Maybe I'll ask you.
Sure.
Okay.
That is, does the PTFE collect debris and things like that? Like,
Not that I've found.
Is there a concern about lubricating it and then having some debris attach itself to it?
I haven't seen that. It could be a design issue where we were talking a few minutes ago about the fin and that goes down, that little track could. But it's interesting because I'll lubricate these RV systems and for a customer, and then months later I'm doing something else on them, a preventative maintenance type thing, and I always like to go back and see, and I do not see that the PTFE, from my experience having done these so many times, I don't see that it's collecting anything. And what I do is I'll take my finger and just run it in that little slot, and just you could tell if your finger's getting warm when you're sliding it. It needs to be lubricated.
Okay.
But if it's slippery when you're sliding your finger back and forth, the little slot above the racks, then you're fine.
Okay, that's another great tip on how to know when it's time.
So when I'm doing if someone says they have an issue with their slide room, and I'm just doing my initial evaluation, I'm hearing about the story about their terrible experiences, and then I'm like, well, let me take a look at it. If the room is out, I'll just take my finger and run it along the slots, and I can tell within a couple minutes of my arrival if it's a lubrication issue.
Okay.
If your finger is rubbing it, it's going to be lubrication.
Okay. And then we're talking about the PTFE. You had mentioned earlier, maybe if you're using the wrong kind of lubricant, that might actually, like if it's a sticky tacky, that might actually collect debris.
Yeah, I mean, WD-40 is a popular thing. I like the way it smells, but I don't know that I would use WD-40 for this. Have you smelled WD-40?
Not recently.
It's got a nice shop smell. Okay. I don't know. It brings back good memories, like fresh baked biscuits and the smell of WD-40, just cookies and WD-40. I know there's a lot of fans of WD-40, and WD-40 has a silicone product, but I don't. I'm just going to stay with my green can with a CRC Power Lube. I don't care who makes it, but I would go with the Teflon spray.
Okay.
Okay, and I would not use silicone. I would not use WD-40. I would not use lithium grease. I would not use graphite. I would stick with Power Lube with PTFE.
Okay.
That's what I would stick with. I mean, just keep it simple. Why? Because I know that it works. I mean, I've been doing hundreds of these things and for years and years and years. So I am not going to change my recipe. That's the recipe success for me working on these systems. And we've worked on hundreds of these Schwintek systems over the years, and that's the product that I've been using. And we've never had a callback.
Yep.
That it broke or now it's not working. So you use what you want. Big boys and girls, it's your RV, you use what you want, but for me, I'm using the green can.
No, I'm reading in the comments that there's a lot of agreement with the PTFE and Power Lube, and those that maybe didn't know before are now going that route.
I love that product. I mean, I use it on steps, like you fold your steps up in your fifth wheel. Now, normally, so I use two lubricants that we carry with me. That one, and then I use PB Blaster. Now, PB Blaster, for me, is more of a short-term, rusty bolt, squeaky thing. I don't see PB Blaster as, in my mind, the way I think of these products, if I've got a heating element seized in a refrigerator cooling in it, I would not use the Teflon in there. Teflon, for me, is more of a long-term, lubricate the hinges, lubricate the slide room, lubricate the steps, lubricate the hinges on the hatches. That's long term. PB Blaster, it leaves more of an oily residue when it leaks. The Power Lube goes on clean, but PB Blaster is the only other product that I use. You got what's the Boeing product that I used to carry? T9. I used to carry that around, and that goes on. You wipe it off. Great, wonderful. Go for it. I'm going to use the green can. I've tried Bose Shield. I've tried a lot of those products, and I've still got the old cans of them. And I have migrated towards carrying two cans in my service trailer, PB Blaster to get those rusty bolts, and that's an amazing product in itself. How that works, I don't know. But PB Blaster it's got a catalyst element to it. You can have a rusty bolt, can't get it off to save your life. You squirt that on there, come back 10 minutes later, and just a little bit of torque and it comes off. Wow. So there's chemistry involved in how that works. And but I would not lubricate my rack system with PB Blaster. I would. So those are the only two products that I carry in my whole service trailer. Keep it simple: PB Blaster and Teflon, the Power Lube with Teflon.
All right.
That's it.
Okay. Okay, and then the last question that we got had to do with showing people where they should. So we've done a couple of videos. One of them I think you took and showed the components.
Had the guts.
So everything was kind of taken out. And I know in some other videos you've kind of pointed at the location. And we don't obviously have a slide room right here to demonstrate with, but can you tell people where they should lubricate when they're using this lubrication? Where should
I have a t-shirt, and I should have worn it. It says, I can explain it to you, but I can't understand it for you. So I'll try my best to explain it. So anyway, so yes, we have done several videos, and Tricia and I were talking about this. The videos that I've done where I talk about lubricating, they've always been parts that I have in my hand, like static displays, not actually physically on an RV. And specifically as it relates to Schwinn-Tech, let's just, that track that we've been talking about, that's really, from my perspective, as many repairs as I've made on these, that's really the critical lubrication point, is that slot that runs above the teeth, where that rubber shoe, that plastic shoe rides. That's really, 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 really important. Why do I say that? I say that because overwhelmingly the repairs that we've gone on are overwhelmingly, these systems have eaten themselves, they have destroyed themselves, they've stripped gears, they've broken teeth off the spur gear, the motor has torqued itself out and popped out. Why? Because it wasn't lubricated, okay? These things not being able to slide in and out like they're supposed to be will cause tremendous stress on that entire system, and that's why these systems are eating themselves and destroying themselves. So that's really important. The next place is the gibs, G-I-B, gib. And where you're going to see that is if you look at your H column, which is you're outside of your RV now, you're looking at your racks and everything. You look at the H column, if you'll see this bulb seal or a D seal that runs up the side. Some of you won't have that, some of you will. But you're going to see a rivet right on the, like, okay, so if this is a slide room and the rack's right here and here's your H column, you're going to see part of a rivet right there at where the bottom of the track would be. And that rivet, there's going to be two rivets. The other rivet is behind the bulb seal so you don't see it. But that rivet is riveting the gib inside the H column. Now you have one on either side of the H column. So the H column is kind of like a C, and it goes up like this. I'm going to lay it down for you. So you have this C. So there's a gib here and a gib here, and so you'll see this rivet, okay? So then you take your straw, you bend it a little bit, put a dog leg in it, and see if you can fatigue it that way, and you get where that rivet is. Try to get above the rivet so it wicks itself down. The ceramic wheel is also riding, it's on a bearing, so it's okay if you don't lubricate that. But a lot of times I'll take my straw and I'll try to get the top of the wheel, and then it wicks itself down and works itself inside the channel on the opposite side of where you're at. Okay, so you're going to do that, the long skinny track, where the rivet is, on top of the wheel, it wicks down to there, and they're going to repeat the process up on the top. If you have triple tracks, then repeat the process 3 times on that side. And another place that it would be nice to lubricate, but not critical, is pull the wiper seal back, and you'll see where the motor sits on top of their bearing block. And I like to, don't squirt on top of the motor, but right where that motor sits on that bearing block, you could squirt some in there. And the reason why is there's a steel collet in there. I've never seen the steel collet seize itself to anything, but it could cause some noise because that's a steel collet. It might be rubbing against the aluminum profile, might cause some noise there. So where the motor meets the bracket, bearing block, where the rivet is on the gibs, really important on the tracks. And then the final place is on the very bottom underneath the whole slide room. You'll pull the wiper seal back and you'll see wheels. The wheels should be every 24 to 36 inches. You should have them there. We've actually seen Schwinn-Techs where there are no wheels, and shame on the manufacturer for installing these things without wheels. The weight of that room is on the wheels, not on the H columns. The H columns are just there as guides, just to bring it in. But if you took the whole H columns out, don't do that, it'll fall. Then Tricia and I could be on either side and we could push the whole thing in. The whole weight is balanced on those roller wheels. So you need to lubricate those roller wheels, and While you're under looking at your roller reels, look at the material that the wheels are rolling on. Sometimes manufacturers will just have like a tough sheet of plastic underneath there, and the weight of that room is rubbing into that, and they're eating into that material. And so you could get go to a hardware store or whatever and get a sheet, like a flat sheet, flashing, a little bit thicker though, that can handle the weight. And then you can, I don't know, you drill the holes for your screws, but do them outboard of where the rollers, you don't want the roller to go over the screw. So your rollers are here, and then you're going to put your sheeting, and your screws are going to go outside. Hope that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And what I use is flush screws. So when I drill those holes, I'll put them on a bench press or something. I'll do it in my shop where I can kind of make the screw hole kind of conical. And so when my screw goes down, it's flush. Okay. And so if you find that the under part of that slide room is starting to show where you're losing 1/8 or 1/4 of an inch because the rollers are digging into that material, guess what? The weight of your room is now sinking onto your ceramic wheels and your H column. So that's when you would need to build that back up underneath. And that's how you can raise the whole room up, 1/8 of an inch, 1/16 of an inch, 1/4 inch, raise it back up by letting that room roll on the little metal plates that you put under to raise it up, because the weight of the room is supposed to be on the wheels, not the columns. So, but you're going to lubricate those wheels underneath, and that's where you would lubricate it.
Okay. And then we had a request. Could you do a demonstration? I
can. We have a slide room I'll be working on in 2 days. It's in CQ. I had to figure out how to pronounce that when I first went through it. I'm like, how? Yeah. Where we live, there's a lot of Indian villages, and some of the Sequim. How do you pronounce Sequim? Mm-hmm. So I'll be in CQ. By the time this comes out, I will have done this, and so maybe it'll come right after. However, you guys decide to pump it out. But yeah I'll be working on a Schwintek slide room. In 2 days, we're going to do the complete replacement on it. Depending on, that's the second job I have on Thursday. Mm-hmm. So the first job, I'm going to be doing some welding on a step, and then the second job, I've got the whole day booked out. So as long as the environment is friendly and there's no dogs barking or loud music, or if it's a good environment that I can film in, I don't think the customer would mind me filming, because they found us through our YouTube channel.
Oh yeah, that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, I'm like, well, hey, let's make it. So maybe I'll film it. We'll see how it goes. But when I do an entire replacement of a Schwintek system, one of the things that I do is lubricate the whole system before I leave. And so I never know ahead of time what the conditions are going to be when I get there. Yeah. So I'll be ready. I'll bring all my equipment, and maybe I can do a whole video on replacing the thing. But hopefully I could at least get the lubrication port of it recorded.
That's great. Well, you pretty much have answered all of the
20,000 questions.
Yeah, that we've had from these recent videos. So that's really cool, and I think people will have a lot better idea of what they need to do to lubricate their slides, where they need to lubricate, how often, any cleaning they need to do, and so it's a really great comprehensive view.
I hope it helps. So yeah. Give us a thumb up, and
like the video.
Like it, subscribe.
Ring the notification bell. We go live once a month, every month, the first Friday of every month at 4:30 p.m.
With a little asterisk, because sometimes we can't make a Friday.
Time. Yeah, that is true. So, hit the notification bell, so when we go live, you'll know, because it'll pop up into your feed, and if there's any changes,
I might be jamming on my violin. So, okay, guys. Thanks. Until the next video, we'll see you. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bye.